Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment as the Tennessee Titans and specifically Mike Vrabel have made some changes to the coaching staff, and I don't think a lot of us are too happy. They have promoted tight ends coach Todd Downing to the offensive coordinator position and outside linebacker coach Shane Bowen to the defensive coordinator position. So let us begin with Todd Downing, okay? And this was a name that I mentioned when we discussed potential offensive coordinators a couple weeks ago when Arthur Smith became confirmed as the next head coach and now the current head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. I talked about him very briefly, but here's my overall sense of Todd Downing. So he was a 1 year and one-time offensive coordinator for the, at the time, Oakland Raiders. And this was coming off of a very successful 12-4 season in 2016. And they let go of their offensive coordinator, Bill Musgrave, and then brought Todd Downing in. This was a very controversial thing. It was something that really wasn't talked about much in the national media, but Oakland Raider fans know it very well because a lot of them were confused why we let go of Bill Musgrave. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that I think Derek Carr was playing late in a game against the Indianapolis Colts, and that's where he broke his leg. Very unnecessary play in which they were throwing the football. I think it was a game where they were already ahead. Maybe they were losing, but the point is the game was over, and there's no real reason for Derek Carr to be in a vulnerable position, and he broke his leg, and then, that was essentially the end of their season. So this led to them letting go of Bill Musgraves and then promoting Todd Downing from within. Now, in this 2017 season, Todd Downing did not do well. I mean, you just cannot dispute this, especially when you go back and look at the tape. Now, there are excuses you can make for him. I think the offense was, let's say, 23rd, I want to say in yards allowed, and by 25th in points. It was a good offense. However, you had Derek Carr coming off of a broken leg. Okay, and he was a little frazzled. He saw a ghost in the pocket. He was not the Derek Carr of 2016, and he really hasn't been ever since. Now, he's definitely, improved, and 2017 was one of his worst years, don't get me wrong. 2018 was worse the year after. So it was not a great look, but you look around the offense. You had Marshawn Lynch, and look, Marshawn Lynch is one of the greatest running backs of all time, certainly of this generation, likely a Hall of Famer. He was done. There was really no reason for the Raiders to be starting Marshawn Lynch, and this was a year after I think Latavius Murray ran really well for them. They let him go, brought in Marshawn Lynch. Didn't make sense to me at the time, doesn't make sense to me now, will never make sense to me. They had some success with Jared Cook. We know Jared Cook very well. This is a guy that has problems, following the playbook, learning the playbook, running the correct routes, still in the league and still sometimes having very good years in the league. Don't get me wrong. But the guys, hey, it could be tough to get some production out of Jared Cook, especially consistent production. He got consistent production out of Jared Cook. However, he failed miserably with Amari Cooper. And this was Amari Cooper's worst year, next to, I guess you could argue his stint with John Gruden was worse, but they traded him after 6 games. But it was Amari Cooper's worst year. I mean, Amari Cooper was such a disappointment in 2017. Michael Crabtree was also a disappointment, but Michael Crabtree was about near the end of his career anyway. The offense struggled. The offensive line, you still had Kelechi Osemele, who was still playing at a Pro Bowl level that year. You had Gabe Jackson and Rodney Hudson, who were pretty good in the interior. The tackles weren't great in Donald Penn and Marshall Newhouse. So the offense wasn't great. It was average, maybe a little below average, but not bad enough to where you're like, well, of course that offense is going to stink. I wish they had a better running game. I wish they didn't have a quarterback coming off a broken leg. The offense should have been better. Okay, so he gets canned along with the entire Jack Del Rio staff. And by the way, one of the situations, whenever Jack Del Rio let go of Bill Musgraves and then promoted Todd Downing, apparently Mark Davis was not happy about this, the Raiders owner, and that kind of just caused some friction right from the start. So it just kind of seemed like Todd Downing was a little screwed from the start, but still the offense should have been better. So the last couple years, again, returning to the tight ends coach position. And you can't deny this. Our tight ends were great this year. Now, I don't love the fact that Jonnu Smith, his pass production or his receiving production really fell off late in the season. He started out so strongly. We really thought it was going to be a strong security blanket for Ryan Tannehill. Ended up being Anthony Ferguson that seemed to be the primary tight end in the passing game, which is fine. I mean, Ferguson is, pretty damn good, receiving tight end. Didn't love the fact that Jonnu Smith was kind of phased out of the offense. But the tight ends did great. Michael Pruitt, whenever he's been great the past couple years. And we also got great production out of Jeff Swain, who we picked up off of the street. So I was really impressed with our tight ends this year. So you got to give him credit for that. And again, we had great success with Arthur Smith promoting from within. Arthur Smith was the tight end coach that was with us for years, put himself within, the organization for years, retained throughout multiple coaching staffs, ended up being the offensive coordinator, and did a very good job. And just in listening to Todd Downing, his interviews, his all that, I like him. I think he's okay. I think he's going to do better here than he did for Oakland. And, we'll see. I'm not like totally sold. What I preferred, a bigger name, what I preferred, a list of names before him, absolutely. But, I'm willing to give this a shot. However, I'm not willing to give Shane Bowen a shot. So the Titans promote Shane Bowen, outside linebacker coach Shane Bowen, to the defensive coordinator position, and this is ridiculous. This is absolutely absurd, people. How can you defend this? How can you defend Shane Bowen being named the defensive coordinator for this team? First of all, this man was the primary play caller for the defense this season, a defense that is the worst Tennessee Titans defense we've ever seen. It is. Point blank period, it is. Because at least you can defend the 2015 defense or the 2014 defense saying, well, the offense stunk too, so of course the defense was gonna stink. Yeah, we had the decaying corpse of Michael Griffin, but hey, the offense was so bad too with Jake Locker and Dorial Green Beckham and Antonio Andrews. Of course the defense isn't gonna be very good either when the offense is going 3 and out, 2 and out, because Jake Locker just broke his leg and threw an interception, right? Of course the defense was going to struggle. This year there was no excuse for this. The offense was fantastic. We had a 2,000-yard rusher, and we still could not have a defense worth a damn that was put out on the football field. We're running the ball extremely well, historically well with this running back, and still you can't generate a pass rush. Our outside linebackers this year, the worst I've ever seen. And this is with Jadeveon Clowney, who we had, for about half the season. But with Jadeveon Clowney, with Harold Landry, did we get any pass rush from these people? No. This is the worst pass rush we've had in Tennessee Titans history. And this man was at the center of it. Now, look, he did a good job, I guess, in 2018 and 2019 because our outside linebackers were decent then. They're not decent now. This defense was awful, and he was at the forefront of this. And you just have to wonder, why? Why him? Now, again, it's promoting within house. You keep everything in house. It makes sense when the offense is working. It makes sense. When the defense is not, you have to fix it, and you can't fix it with what's inside. You can, but what are the odds in that? You gotta get someone outside to fix this defense. I want the whole defense revamped. I want a different scheme. I would consider going to a 4-3. Not really, but seriously, we need to seriously consider just a huge revamp of this defense, some of the schemes that we're doing, some of the personnel groupings, the overall philosophy of the defense. I really believe that the defense this year just showed us, man, there's just systemic problems with this defense that really needs to be figured out. Because again, you look at the talent on the roster, it was not as bad as the play on the field. Kevin Byard has been in his career an all-pro safety. This year, he was god-awful, one of the worst safeties in the league. What the hell happened? Well, Dean Pease retired. We let go of some pieces, yes, in Jarrell Casey and Logan Ryan, who, yes, if you would have had, we would have been slightly better. But my God, how do you promote within this defense? And not only that, these people, and I'm talking about Mike Vrabel too, because Mike Vrabel, he was really involved with the defense this season. These coaches cannot motivate these players well. Vic Beasley stepped through the door and was like, all right, I'm not playing for y'all. And that's on him and his character. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excusing him, but it's a little shady when you see that and then you see so many players that have been productive and successful for us, like Kevin Byard, all of a sudden, not play particularly well. Are they as motivated? Is the defensive coaching staff really lighting a fire under them? I don't see it. I don't buy it. What's going on? You had to hire from outside to me. I don't know how Mike Vrabel, this is one of the biggest problems of Mike Vrabel, and it doesn't matter as long as he wins games, but trust me, I don't know next year, this is what the road we're going down, I don't know if this is going to continue to be the case. But Mike Vrabel, look, he's confident, and he's just so up there in his press conferences saying, oh, I don't see any problems with the defense. I don't see any problems with the coaching staff. We don't need a defensive coordinator. Well, you better be right, because I'm telling you right now, if we go into this upcoming year with all the cap problems that we have, and look, Todd Downing is not going to be as good as Arthur Smith, at least right off of the bat. There's just no way our offense is going to be as good as it was this year, next year. There's just no way. If we get the same production from the defense, or worse, because I really believe it could get worse, Because we have to make some cuts, honestly, defensively. We have to let some players go. Jayon Brown, free agent, I think he's going to be let go. I think you're talking about potentially cutting Malcolm Butler. I think you're talking about maybe cutting Kenny McCarr. The defense on paper may be worse next year. It really could be, depending on how we draft on paper. If we can't get better production on the field, we're going to dip out of the playoffs. I'm telling you right now. I mean, there's just no way. Their offense will not be as good. I think it'll still be very good, even still one of the top in the league. It's not going to be as good. We need the defense to be better, at least decent, at least average. Can we get that at least? With Shane Bowen being promoted, I can't believe it. You ever watch the movie Ted? Remember when Ted was, I'm going to try to keep this PG on this channel. I'm not trying to get demonetized. Remember when Ted was doing something with the coworker in the back, and then he had the meeting with the manager, and then he's like, I sold this parsnip that I used on this girl to this family with 4 small children, and the boss looks at him like, that took guts. We need guts. I'm promoting you. I feel like that was a conversation. I feel like Shane Bowen went to the office. Mike Vrabel asked him, so why do you deserve to be the defensive coordinator? Shane Bowen sat there and said, well, I don't know. I led the worst Tennessee Titans defense in history. We didn't have a pass rush. It was a historically bad pass rush, not only for the franchise, but for NFL history. And our outside linebacker stunk. I'm promoting you. That's how the conversation went. I mean, it's absurd. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on the Tennessee Titans promoting Todd Downing and Shane Bowen to their respective coordinator positions. I hope I'm wrong on this. I've been wrong on stuff before when it comes to coaches in this franchise in the past. But man, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.